I try to sound the alarm about the Islamification of this country to great extent. And it's hard because it's hard explaining to people who haven't experienced the pain yet. I'm very excited to welcome to the show someone who actually who understands what is happening here in America because he saw it happen to his home. Tommy Robinson, a man who needs no introduction. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
What made you decide to come to Texas?
To come to Texas, meetings, interviews, but also to see the start of what's developing in America. I've seen it all. Yeah. So I've just gone today. I've come to Texas. I'm in Dallas. I've gone to the huge mega mosque, which it has to be called a mega mosque. It's huge. Yeah. That's bigger than many mosques we have in the UK. We have a big problem.
Really?
And I obviously looked at Texas, 330 mosques now. 5 years ago, you had just over 200. I'm looking at the increase, 50 mosques in the last 2 years. The growth, I've seen this. When I was born in 1982 in my hometown, there was one mosque. There's now 45. So I've seen what comes with that. And I've gone to the mosque just to check it out. And as I've gone to the mosque, we've obviously been told we're not allowed to film, go away, security have all come out. And then I've looked at the surrounding shops where they built a halal market city. And I've gone into the shops just to see the change in face of, this is what people need to understand is, if you're outside of Texas, you're outside of Plano, and you're not seeing what's happening here, you can't ignore this because it's come into your town. It's here now. So as I went through, I walked into the first shop. I said, hi, is every bit of meat in here halal? Yes, it is. I said, can I get some non-halal? No, you can't. Went to the next shop, it's all clothing for Muslim women. The next shop, it's all Arabic and Islamic symbols. The next shop, so all the shops. Now, at the end of these shops is a big Christian church. That will not be a church for long. And then I've gone and met, I've met a lot of, whether you call them influencers, YouTubers, commentators, politicians since I've been here. But I wanted to meet some everyday Americans who are affected by this. So I met a young lady today, Abby, who has no influence, has no show. She's not an expert. She's not political, but she's seen the change in face of her community. And her grandmother's from this area, and then her mother's from this area. She's now fled this area after facing harassment and targeting by Muslim men. Now, she broke down today on camera, and American women, Western women should not have to be living like this. We should not be having, and what I'm going to tell the story in my latest video. This is what we call in the UK white flight. So large mosques, money comes in from Saudi, from Qatar, from Iran. They build these enclaves. These enclaves are not here to assimilate and integrate. They're here to dominate. And you've seen it with the plans for Epic City. Now, next door to this mosque, and I wonder how many people are actually aware of Epic City. I know it's been a big talking point. But when I went to look at the road next to this mosque, which is owned by, I believe all the villas, large, beautiful homes, are owned by the mosque. It's called Medina Villas. There's Mashallah House. And the planned city that they had, or the 400, the planned city that they had with 1,000 homes, the Islamic enclave they want to build, the roads are going to be called after Islamic conquerors. Yes. Not Islamic peacemakers, Islamic conquerors. Because this is what this is. This is about conquering America, it's about conquering Texas. And this is a blueprint. So America, people outside of Texas, this is a blueprint for every town and city. I've seen this. I tried warning about this 15 years ago in my hometown. Everyone turned against me. No one wanted to have the discussion. Because if you have the discussion and you accept the reality, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
That's the reality. What are you going to do about it? Because you're going to have to do something.
Yep. Unless
you want the same problems that we faced in Europe, you have a choice now. You're at a crossroads. I know the rapes in my country last year were 80,000. In 2003, we had 8,800 rapes. 2023, we had 88,000 rapes. Now, compare 88,000 rapes to Poland, which had 600, or you can compare it to Hungary, which had 700. The safest countries in Europe now, Hungary, Poland. Why? Because they didn't open their borders to mass Islamic immigration. You have been quite a successful story, America, how to welcome in migrants and make them integrate and assimilate from all over the globe. You're not going to do that with migrants from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. You're mixing oil and water.
Yeah, why do you think, why have they chosen Texas? I mean, they clearly have chosen Texas as their epicenter in this country. Why do you think that is?
I think many areas have been chosen, even if you look at where the Somalians have been based in Minnesota. Yeah. They've gone from the hottest place on the planet to the coldest place. That's not a choice they'd make. If they're coming to America, they're not going to think, let's go to the coldest place because we're going to fit in there.
Right.
They've been put there. And the communities, you have to understand the expansion of these communities. So if they want to bring people in to swing votes and change votes and which the Democrats are the ones that welcomed all this in. Yep. But the problem is when you start looking at the funding for some of the Republicans in this area, they're receiving mass funding from Pakistan, Pakistani billionaires. Yep. And then they're literally, because what you have to understand is my hometown of Luton, is now 50% Kashmiri Pakistani. We're never getting it back. Now, you can either let Texas go, but I come to Texas to experience the American... When we hear back home, and I'm glad I just did, I just went to Hutchins, which is, oh my God, wow.
It's so good.
It far super...
Texas barbecue.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. But that's what, when I think of Texas, when I was standing there, I didn't feel like I was in Texas, at this mosque, and looking at all these Islamic shops. But some people would say, well, what's the problem? It's only a small number. We have Muslims in my hometown, in my town, who are born there. There's interviews from them. They've gone to school in Islamic school, because this is what will happen. They create their own schools where they teach the Quran every single day. They then leave, they work, and they never meet a non-Muslim. Mm-hmm. And then Sharia is coming. We have 100 Sharia law courts operating in our country, 100. And then you have a government. If you've been watching, I'm totally embarrassed on behalf of the British public. We are humiliated at the non-leadership and the cowardice shown by Keir Starmer in not allowing America to use our bases when you're going to war with one of the most fascist, supremacist countries on the planet, the Islamic regime, behind most terrorist organisations, behind 12 plots in our country. Yeah, and we didn't support America. It's embarrassing, it's humiliating. Do you know why Keir Starmer done that? Because he's scared. He's scared of the hostile Islamic community that he's imported. And when your foreign policy or your values start being changed because you're worried about affecting an Islamic community, which is why the fraud happened in Minnesota, they turn a blind eye because they're loyal voters. They're not going to upset them. They're quite happy. Go do what you want. It's why a generation of Britain's daughters were raped. Raped at the hands of Islamic gangs because the government, the police, no one wanted to upset them. But they're not willing to upset them, but they're willing to let our children be kidnapped and raped.
Right.
They're importing a vote bank that will be so powerful you have no idea what's coming. You just don't.
You know, it's interesting because my friend Chad Prather, I just saw that he had written a post about the Muslim takeover, which obviously we're seeing. I'm a born and raised native Texan. I've lived here my whole life. I'm seeing it happen in front of my very eyes. And there are people, I'm sure they said the same thing to you, which was like, that's not true. It's not happening. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And I saw someone that commented on his post yesterday, and they said less than 2% of the population in Texas is Muslim. Now, I don't know if that's a correct figure. I would guess that it's probably higher. But the point that they're trying to make is like, oh, it's such a small percentage. Don't worry about it. It's like...
It's their biggest weapon. It's their biggest weapon.
Well, right, exactly. And I'm like, and you think that will stay at 2%? I mean, the whole point is that they have to start somewhere and then they just keep exponentially increasing. That's how it works every single time they do this.
It's the biggest weapon. So, for example, Manchester, after the Ariana Grande bombings, where 26 children were blown up. Do you know if we had a Donald Trump ban? You know the Donald Trump ban in his first presidency? Yeah. 8 countries, 10 countries. They called it the Muslim ban. Yes. It wasn't a Muslim ban. Right. It was countries that you don't share intelligence, that are unsafe countries. So he had that ban. If we'd have had that, those 26 children would be alive. Because Salman Abedi was allowed to fly to a terror state with no government and allowed to get weapons training, bomb training, come back and blow up children. There would be 280 extra alive citizens if we had just that style ban. But they're more worried about offending a few people's feelings than saving British citizens. You have a leader in your country currently who cares about your American citizens, and you need to stop this problem. When they say the numbers, the UK population, so when I looked in Manchester, their population went from 25,000 to 50,000 10 years later. It went from 50,000 to 100,000 10 years later. Now, if we carry on this trend, there's only 500,000 people in that city. Within 2 generations, you're gone. And that's what we're witnessing. And you see, the lady I met today, so I'm very, very, very grateful to have the experience with an everyday American girl who's seen the change in this area. She said, within 5 years, I just looked around and thought, where am I? That's how quickly it's going to happen.
Exactly.
That's planned. They're flooding it. Your births are not going up. Ours are, and again, I always bring this back to my hometown. We have, in 2013, I looked at the democratic growth forecast for the communities within the town. The Pakistani and Bangladeshi community by 2030, which is a 17-year period, they're going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black by 1.2% to 1.4%. Now, these numbers, my local imam's got 3 wives and 14 kids.
Right.
We can't compete with it.
Right.
We can't. And we're failing. And that quick changes. So them saying we're only a small number, and when they're a small number, you might be able to deal with some of the crimes. We have 40,000 Muslims on a terror watch list. 3,000 of them monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a cost of £9 billion a year. The last 5 terrorist attacks weren't from those in the top 3,000. So if we double the communities, 40,000 becomes 80,000, then what are you going to do?
Right.
That's an army. We've only got 70,000 armed forces. Right. So the numbers accelerate so quick, so fast. And even look at the statistics in the United States of America. Our rape rates. Do you want to protect your women or not? Do you want to protect your country or not? You're at a crossroads. I think you've had a referendum today. Ken Paxton, is it? I think the Americans have been given a choice in Texas today on what they want and what future they want. And you've had a choice between someone who I believe has £4 million in funding and another gentleman who's cucking for Muslims who looks like he's had nearly 100 million. So I hope Texas make the right choice, which we'll soon see.
Sure.
And that's a choice between strength and what that also could do. I've come here to interview Americans, politicians, because unfortunately, every terrorist attack we've had in my country, which we've had so many, the terror plots, the jihad, soldiers beheaded, children blown up, women stabbed to death in restaurants, just massacres and jihad on the streets of the UK. We've stopped probably on average one a month as well because of our security services. But in all the time of having that, not one single politician, not one, since Gladstone and Churchill has had the discussion in Parliament of Islam or Sharia. Not one.
Yeah.
Now you are ahead of the game. You've got some brave Keith Self, you've got some brave politicians that are coming together and realising we need to protect America, and you do. This is going to become the most prominent issue in your country, I guarantee you.
I agree.
Because you can look. You have politicians, you can look at Britain.
Right.
Look at France.
I keep telling people. I say it all the time. I'm like, we have the map of how this happens. Just go look over there. Why do we need to repeat it for ourselves?
The same groups that are operating, so like the Muslim Brotherhood, the same Muslim Brotherhood, these terrorist organisations, CARE in the United... I looked at CARE for so long in this country and I was gobsmacked. They become part of your establishment.
Yes.
They were in bed.
Yes.
They were in the middle of it.
Yeah.
These are people who wish to subjugate the non-Muslim community. They wish to implement Sharia. That's their end goal. They have the same end goal. Where you have...
They're saying it out loud too, by the way.
I can't believe how vocal they are.
I know. They're saying...
America.
I know. All the
1%.
quiet parts out loud.
1%.
Right.
Why don't they just shut up?
I know.
Because they're going to get there anyway.
I know.
Through birth rate, through immigration, through plan, through money. The money comes in from Qatar. Qatar has spent £1 billion in my country, radicalising and Islamising. But the problem is they're allies with our nations and our leaders because of the economy, with how much money. But the leaders need to separate the economics of the country with the culture of the country.
Yeah.
You can't give your culture away for money. You can't sell your nation.
Yeah.
And that's what our leaders have done. It's what the European Union have done. They want to break down society, immigration. And it was so fascinating to meet an American girl earlier who's experiencing what we've all experienced. As the Muslim community grows, then you have white flight, which is where people feel uncomfortable. They start getting harassed. They then leave. Then they don't recognise anyone. The breakdown in community. When you break down a family, which has been orchestrated and organised as well, you have when you get rid of the father, you then have people who are susceptible to radicalisation, to gangs, to all these things. When you break down a community, you break down the ability to resist.
Right.
And even in the Britain, and this is all planned, because in Britain, the pub is the heartbeat of British culture. Yeah. They're all closing. They've made sure they're closing. It's the one place where we come together as communities and you talk about politics. They don't even want us talking about it. Yeah. We know that. You know that from the Twitter files.
I do.
America knows that. We know. You saw big tech censorship. You saw what they've done. Look what they've done to Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Your work is just so critical. Tell everyone, if they're not yet following you, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can follow me on X, which is my main platform. In fact, there's a Christian revival happening in Britain. There's a cultural revolution happening in Britain. None of it would have happened without Elon Musk buying X. And just to Americans, when you voted for Donald Trump, you voted to not just save America, but to save Western civilization. We're grateful. You've given us light at the end of the tunnel. There's a fire been lit in the belly of every British person who now knows we have hope. We have hope. I'm optimistic. Our country's awake. The only way you can awaken people is by discussions like this, on shows like this. Yeah. And they had control for so long. They had control. They censored Republican voices. They deplatformed. I was invisible. So I'm now on X. That's my main platform. It's my main place. I'm back. I'm on YouTube as well, but they refuse to monetize us. Yeah. They don't want you.
They don't like you.
No, because if I was monetized, I can hire security. They don't like it. Probably they've been forced to give people back a voice when Donald Trump was elected. A ripple's come from America. Yeah. Okay, a ripple of free speech. When we hear JD Vance, do you know what? Do you know how the feeling it gives us when we see the American JD Vance, we see them talking about our free speech and warning the European Union and warning our leaders. It's we're very grateful.
Well, I'm grateful for you. I appreciate you, and I'm happy to connect. I hope you come back soon.
Thank you very much.
If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.